This is about an article which will appear in Nonlinear Physics in Geosciences. The title is Climate Science as a Social Process History, Climatic Determinism, CUDOS, and Post-normality. And the short summary is the historical concept of climatic determinism favored the perception of Westerners being superior to the people in the rest of the world. Self-critical processes led to a more systematic and rigorous approach of dealing with hypotheses. This gain in methodical rigor went along with the loss of understanding that climate is not a key explanatory factor for societal differences. Today, climate science is in a post-normal phase with significant implications of the policy advising process. There are four key terms which are used in this presentation. One is climatic determinism, it's the CUDOS norms, it's post-normality, and it is the knowledge market. And all this is based on joint work with Nico Scheer, Dennis Bray, and others. And in April 2023, the book Science and Society, which is an anthology of the joint work of Nico Scheer and myself, will be published. Two diagrams by Ellsworth Huntington, published in 1925, were pretty important for the development and acceptance of climatic determinism. This is one. It shows what he thought the distribution of civilization would be. In deep red, it would be very high, and in yellow, it would be very low. And on the other hand, he published a second map where he constructed what he called climatic energy. How is it distributed in space? And again, deep red is very high and yellow is very low. And if you have the impression that these two maps are similar, that's exactly what he wanted to show. So we have in the end these two diagrams, and from that he concluded that the civilization is conditioned by the presence of sufficient climatic energy. The CUDOS norms is another thing. That is a set of norms for basic natural sciences, which was summarized by Robert Merton in 1942. And it has four elements, namely communalism, that means the common ownership of scientific discoveries, according to which scientists give up intellectual property rights in exchange for recognition and esteem. U, in CUDOS, universalism, according to which claims to truth are evaluated in terms of universal or impersonal criteria, and not on the basis of race, class, gender, religion, or nationality. D is for disinterestedness. Scientists, when presenting their work publicly, should do so without any prejudice or personal values, and do so in an impersonal manner. O and S in CUDOS is organized skepticism. All ideas must be tested and are subject to rigorous, structured community scrutiny. The item post-normal science, that is something which was invented or suggested by two scientists in the 1980s, namely Jerry Roberts and Sylvia Funtovich. And science is post-normal when facts are uncertain, values in dispute, stakes high, and decisions urgent. In this state, science is not only done for reasons of curiosity, but is asked for as a support for preconceived value-based agendas. And we claim, there was a paper by Dennis Bray and myself in 1990, that climate science is in a post-normal phase, and on the right-hand side, we have a list of why we think so. If post-normal conditions prevail, then we predict the following. First, science is descientized and politicized, so it is less aiming at open analysis and to results. On the other hand, policy is depoliticized and scientized. That means policy decisions are framed as being without alternative. And scientific knowledge claims are presented as leading to unique solutions which need to be implemented without further democratic influence in the substance. And we also see that sometimes scientists will act as policy activists while exploiting the public authority as being scientists. And finally, emergence of different knowledge claims, among them what we call nowadays alternative facts. The fourth and last point is the issue of the knowledge market, which I illustrate with these sketches. On the left-hand side, you see what I call the cultural construct of the climate catastrophe. It is in Japanese, but we don't need to understand it because the images tell the full story. On top, we see a person explaining what the climate catastrophe is. And this person has a white coat on, obviously a scientist. And in the middle, he's telling about the consequences, namely global malaria and the stealing of the future of the young generation in sinking islands. On the last diagram, you see the same person explaining the world what needs to be done. So from science flows directly political consequences. This is much earlier than Fridays for Future, by the way. On the right-hand side, I have tried to illustrate what I call the scientific construction of climate change with two diagrams, showing first it is actually getting warmer, and the diagram shows the temperature development in Denmark. While at the same time, we do not see a significant change in storminess, which is the lower diagram based on local observations. So we see there is climate change, but we really need to think about what it means. Key aspects of the knowledge market are the science policy or public interaction is not an issue of knowledge speaks to power. And the problem is not that the public is stupid or uneducated. The problem is that the scientific knowledge is confronted on this explanation market with other forms of knowledge claims. They could be pre-scientific and outdated, traditional, or morphed by different interests. And scientific knowledge does not necessarily win this competition. And we also must be aware that the social process science is itself influenced by these other knowledge forms. And science cannot be objective, but we should nevertheless try to do so. Now, these were the items and the overall summary, which is also the abstract of the article I'm reading now. Since ages, the topic of climate in the sense of usual weather has in the Western tradition attracted attention as a possible explanatory factor for the differences in societies and human behavior. Climate and its purported impact on society is an integrated element in Western thinking and perceptions. In this essay, the history of ideas about the climatic impact on humans and society and the emergence of the ideology of climatic determinism are sketched from the viewpoint of natural science. The ideology favored the perception of Westerners being superior to the people in the rest of the world, giving legitimacy to colonialism. In modern times, where natural sciences instituted self-critical processes such as repeatability and falsification, and norms such as the CUDOS norm, the traditional host of climate issues, namely geography, lost its grip and physics took over. This scientification of climate science led to a more systematic, critical and rigorous approach of building and testing hypotheses and concepts. This gain in methodical rigor, however, went along with the loss of understanding that climate is hardly a key explanatory factor for societal differences and developments. Consequently, the large segment of the field tacitly and unknowingly began reviving the abandoned concept of climatic determinism. Climate science finds itself in a post-normal condition, which led to a frequent dominance of political utility over methodical rigor. This is about what is presented in the publication which has been accepted by Nonlinear Physics in Geophysics.